What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Ren When Parked. I got a little bit of an unscheduled episode today. We are not going to be working on Joyriding the 40 back there today. We're going to be working on my RX7 FD. And the reason why is because for a long time I've had this mystery problem with the RX7. I've never really been able to put my finger on it, and it kind of crops up randomly. It's intermittent. So the car's been on the road, it makes good power, it rips, but every once in a while something would happen where it would like drop a cylinder or drop two cylinders. It's random. It's very hard to track down. I've seen it in the data logs. I've seen it on the dyno, but I've never really been able to put my finger on it. But recently it's gotten significantly worse, where like you have a cylinder that is just missing all the way from idle up to anywhere in the RPM range. So what I did was I swapped out the coils first, see if I had an intermittent coil. I took them off the FJ40 actually, since I got a few sets of coils hanging around from that project, and that didn't fix it. So what I did was I started looking around at it, and I realized, it's probably the injectors. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to fire this thing up out in the driveway here. I'm going to show you guys the type of problem that I'm dealing with, and then we're going to switch out the injectors. Hopefully that fixes the problem. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm relatively confident at this point that if I put the stock injectors back in it, it's going to run perfectly fine. And then if it does, what we'll do is we'll fire it up and we'll rip it out around on the roads a little bit, and we'll see how it's doing. So hopefully it'll be a pretty fun video, and let's get to work on it. All right, guys, so first things first, we'll fire this thing up, and I'll show you what it's been doing that's been causing me problems here. All right, guys, so first things first, you hear how choppy it is? It sounds good, admittedly, but it shouldn't be that choppy. This thing's got a really light turbo cam with, a very small lobe separation angle, so it really shouldn't chop like that. Now, the second thing is, let's check our cylinder temperatures here. So you can see there that on cylinder 1, clearly it's either misfiring or running very, very poorly. On 2 and 3, it's running good. They're consistent, like 190 degrees, and then cylinder 4 is only like 155. So like a 5, 10, 15 degree delta between cylinders is not that big of a deal, but when you're talking like 50, 60, 70 degrees, clearly you have a major problem here. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna take those old coils off, because those are just a set of coils I used to test the problem. We're going to switch back to stock style injectors. I'm going to flash the tune a little bit to change the injector parameters, and then we'll fire it back up, and let's hope it's fixed. All right, guys, so we got the stock injectors back in it. We got our original coil packs back on it. And now, before we start it, always just want to prime up the fuel system and make sure we don't have any leaks at the injector. So we have pressure, and I don't see any drips or anything. Yeah, everything looks good. So I guess we'll clean up a little bit and then we'll fire it up and see what we got. So now all I'm doing here is just in the Holley EFI software, I'm changing the injector parameters. So these are stock like LS1 26-pound injectors that I had. So all I did was I changed the injector off times at various voltages to match close enough parameters. So unfortunately I didn't have the exact ones for those injectors, but I got it close. And the thing about the Holley software is it corrects extraordinarily well. So we should be good to go as long as our rated injector flow is correct and our off times are really close. So let's cross our fingers and fire this thing up, I guess. Sounds so much better, guys. Not smoking anymore. It's chopping a little bit, but not too bad. Right about how it's supposed to sound. And under the hood, we sound good. Awesome. Now let's check our temperatures. All right, guys, so I'm pretty sure that's a problem solved. I'm extremely happy about that. We had one cylinder temperature that seemed to be a little bit low. That would be cylinder number 7 on the driver's side. But to be honest with you, it's hard to get those laser thermometers all the way back on those rear cylinders, so it's probably nothing. Plus, it was pretty close anyway. It was only 20 degrees off, so I think we're all set. We're good to go. I'm going to do a little bit more tuning on this thing. I'm going to check the fluids, and then I guess we'll rip this thing around a little bit and see what she does. Alright guys, so if you remember, I put stock 26-pound LS1 injectors back in this thing, so we kind of knew at some point it would run out of fuel. So I set up some safeties just in case that was the situation. Now, you saw at one point I kind of got into it pretty hard, and then it just died. It just you know, killed the pull about a third of the way through up into the RPM range. That was right here. So I just want to show you guys what happened there really quick. Alright guys, so I was data logging most of that time, so what I did was I just cut this timetable down to right when the ignition cut out. So what I have here, the yellow line is air-fuel ratio, the lighter blue line up here is boost, the darker blue line down there is total injector fuel flow, all 8 injectors together. So I got into the throttle, obviously. The boost peaked up here at 6.2 psi. Air-fuel ratio was pretty good. It was at 11.6. which is awesome for being in boost. That's fine, right on the fuel map. And the injector flow rate also peaked right there on that point. I can't highlight it with the touchscreen. Right there. Anyway, so it also peaked, which would be fine. Obviously, it was going to when you're in the boost. The problem is it peaked at 210.5 pounds per hour. So these are stock LS injectors, 26-pound injectors. 26 times 8 is 208. So it goes without saying that my duty cycle here was at 101.2%. So it was actually over the maximum injector flow rating. So that is why the Holley cut out, because it knew that we were about to run out of fuel, about to run lean. And in a situation like that, obviously you have a pretty good chance of melting a piston or something. So once again, the Holley system saved me from myself. A little more evidence that that was about to happen. Our fuel pressure was dropping pretty heavily. We were at 28 psi. So this thing was losing fuel very, very quickly. It saved my engine, probably. So I just wanted to point that out because there's a lot of cool things about the Holley system, but I think probably the best one is its ability to save you from yourself in situations like this. Absolutely a fantastic system. All right, guys, so that's about it for today. I'm pretty amped up because it's been a long time since I've been able to beat on the old Evil 7 like that. So I'm so glad she's back. I almost forgot about how fun it is. Things like a little go-kart. It's a riot to drive. But we're not out of the woods yet. So I think I told you guys last time I drove it, like maybe 10 videos ago or something like that, that it did lift a head on the passenger side, and that is still the case. I haven't magically fixed that. So it's pushing coolant when you get into the boost, but it's neither here nor there. It's also got a couple other problems. The differential is a stock Mazda diff in the rear. It's independent, and I think it's about had enough of the turbo V8 beating on it. It's making some noise. Also, the transmission's making a little noise, so I think it might be time that we contemplate entirely new drivetrain options for this. I have a new engine, which I think I pointed out before, which is bound to go into it at some point here. I'm thinking about putting that in with a new T56 Magnum trans and then put an 8.8 in the rear. I'm not really sure when I'm going to get to do that. I obviously have enough projects going on. But what I do know is when I do it, you will see it on another episode of Ran When Parked. So until then, hit that like button, comment, subscribe to the channel because I got a lot more projects coming up soon. And I think I'm going to go wash this thing because it's absolutely filthy and I kind of feel bad for it. I'll see you guys later.